It's not connected to anything. Welcome back to another episode of Skelly's Garage. In this episode, we are bringing Faff, the neglected V8 BMW 5 Series with a 6-speed manual, back to the forefront of the focus. Now, I have to say, I adore driving this car. On the highway with a smooth road and little traffic, it is truly the manifestation of Freude am Fahren. But on crappy city roads, this drifty boy coilover system makes it unbearable to drive. It is so bad that I often feel that I arrive at my destination 2 to 3 inches shorter than when I left. And being that at my tallest, I am only 5'9", that can often present itself as a problem. Terrible suspension aside, there are still a lot of other things that need to get done on this car. But those jobs take a tremendous amount of time, and because the gray lady's so messed up that even a brand new DME couldn't save it, I can't fully commit to that length of a job yet. But outside of those major jobs, there are still a lot of small things here and there that need to be sorted, and individually they would be mere annoyances, but altogether it's like they're conspiring to make my life miserable. So in this episode, I'm going to try to knock as many of those out as possible so that we can at least make the E39 a more pleasant place to be while I get the X5 sorted. On the subject of the interior, there are a few things in here that are really quite unpleasant and I would really love to get sorted out. So first of all is this aftermarket stereo system, which I hate. I don't like aftermarket stereo systems in general, but this one just looks offensive. It is not taking up the whole space, it's very small, it's very slow, it often doesn't work entirely correctly, and I would like to replace it with just a standard BMW CD player, which we will eventually actually expand the functionality of, but that will be in a future episode. First thing we want to do, remove the trim. Nussbaum. Let's remove this horrible thing. What is this? Okay, that's probably Bluetooth. Go away. What is this? It's... Oh, that's probably for the mic. According to the records that I have, this was a pretty nice head unit. It was put in place by a previous owner in around 2013. So, you know, by 2013 standards, this is... But personally, I prefer the regular BMW one. It just looks much better. It doesn't have the same functionality, of course, but still, you can't beat it for me. Give it up. Now. Oh. No. This is really annoying. This is one of the earliest steering wheel interfaces that really became commercially available. I know it's not the earliest, it's one of the older ones. It was around when I was interested in car audio. The problem is that these are pretty intrusive. And so now I have to trace down where these wires go, whether they go all the way to the steering wheel, and then figure out how to get my old wiring back and whether or not it will even work. But there was even more disappointment coming my way. Once I got the MID unit that I bought connected to the car, I found out that the person that I bought it from had misrepresented a few things. The screen, far from being quote-unquote perfect, was a pixelated mess. Not only that, it turned out that the seller had sold me a unit that was significantly older than what I had expected, which was a problem as I had wanted to add auxiliary input to the car, and that wouldn't be possible with an old model. As frustrating as it was, I decided to install the head unit regardless, and source another one down the line. Replacing head units is significantly simpler once the BMW head unit cage is installed, and finding a nicely refurbished, new enough MID and CD player shouldn't be too difficult. Besides, even listening to CDs in the radio, the sound quality of the standard unit should be much better than the aftermarket garbage I removed. That's because BMW actually uses decent DACs in their devices. With the head unit sorted, at least to the extent that it was possible, it was time to tackle some of the suspension components. Specifically, the two front failed control arms with very loose ball joints. To make my life simpler, I drove the car to work and used the lift there. Today we're going to do some more maintenance on this thing, and we're going to do it here because the X5 is still down and it's in my garage. But the garage is free, and so why not take advantage of the opportunity if you have it. The actual process of removing and replacing these arms is not that complex. What I am concerned about, and they all need to be replaced. All these ball joints are bad. These bushings are actually okay. It's just, this is just leaking so much oil that it's not good. But such is life. What size are you? 22, 21, 19. Bring them all. Is it 21? Yes. Okay. Got to remove the sway bar mount. Yes! Lovely. Every single piece of plastic trim, it seems, on the underside of this car is just destroyed, which is honestly disappointing, unbelievable, undesirable. We got a few more words in there, I think. That was the easy part. Well, actually, no. This is not going to be that bad. I know those are famous last words, but now since we removed the nut that holds on the ball joint, then we're going to have to knock it out with hopefully a ball joint separator. And when that doesn't work, we're going to be using a pickle fork. Since we're replacing this arm, might as well just take it off here too. The reason that there is so much oil, it's actually coming all from like right around this area, because that's where the oil lines that go to the oil filter, the remote oil filter, go, and they're leaking bigly. But replacing them is a lot easier with the engine mounts out. So that's what we're going to do when we do the timing chain guide replacement. So that's certainly not in scope for this evening. It's not connected to anything. My good friend and co-worker, Andrew, was equally baffled by the unwillingness of the tension strut to come out of the car peacefully. I decided that the correct course of action would be to break the ball joint and try to lever out the other way. But then, dinner arrived, and after dinner, things got silly.
Nobody likes tetherball here. It's just a ball on a string on a pole in the ground, and we watch it spin round and round. Sir.
Voila. I'm going to stand away because I'm very scared of this thing. You're not actually supposed to twist this until it comes off. You're supposed to apply pressure and then kind of go hide in the corner for a few minutes and then wait for it to do its job. And then if it doesn't do that, then come back. So I'm going to go hide in the corner. Me. Woo! That was very scary. Alright, so with the bushing side of these, we don't torque them all the way while the car's in the air for a number of reasons, not the least of which is it just ain't done. The same process with the other control arm here. Like spacer, at the top. Andrew, thank you for your cameo.
Hi!
Can you say a few words for the viewers? The 1 or 3 viewers that will watch this video?
There's at least 6.
At least 6.
6 viewers. Hit that like and subscribe.
You can follow Andrew on the internet as long as you find him. I don't know, I haven't been able to find him yet, but you could probably give it a go. All silliness aside, now that the ball joints were torqued, it was time to do the bushings, which have to be torqued with the suspension fully loaded. Now, since we were using a 2-post lift and really didn't want the car to fall off, we supported the rear with a suspension jack.
Solid.
Nice and easy, take it easy. With the tension struts and the lower control arms sorted, all that was left for us to do was bring the car back to the ground, put the wheels on, and clean up. But once we cleaned up, I got to start the magical sounding M62 V8 in an otherwise deserted building and hear it clear its throat before we left for the night. But that was only a part of the work that needed getting done. I brought it back to the shop a little while later because I was hearing a weird noise from the rear. I had checked the wheel fasteners and the wheel bearings, but unfortunately, the issue wouldn't be so simple.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
In the best case, I was low on fluid. In the worst, I would need a new differential. My 2 colleagues, one of whom was the one who sold me the car, hung out while I figured out what to do next.
I love the smell of difference. Okay, that is low.
That is, well, it's supposed to be filled until it is overflowing.
It's not overflowing, and it is dripping out a little bit.
I mean, it looks
all right. Actually.
It looks all right.
It's not bad. Which is bad. That's a bad thing.
Yes.
I was hoping that it would be like mud.
Yes, I was hoping that there would be a smoking gun.
Oh,
Wait, actually, there's a. Look at that.
It's rusty.
No, that's wet.
Oh, it's leaking. Doesn't look great.
I mean, it doesn't look bad though.
No.
It doesn't smell burnt. Like, you know that burnt smell that like old gear fluid has?
Yeah.
This doesn't have it. If only we had some way of collecting the fluid.
The problem is this is neither a bad thing nor a good thing.
Anyway, so let's take a moment here because I'm gonna buy these fluid and the liquid moly tube of toothpaste, and then we'll get right back into it. Cool. So to remedy the situation, hopefully.
Nope.
To try to remedy the situation, we're going to put in this liquid moly 75W90 gear oil, as well as this liquid moly MOS2 anti-friction toothpaste. So we'll see how well that works. If it doesn't work, I'm pushing this car into the ocean. So.
Absolutely.
Splish splash. This stupid sway bar is in the way.
It's starting to come out, so you're nearly there.
There we go. May I have that? Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, these are labeled.
So, let's see.
Worse.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
All right, so we have actually added noise to the car. Key here is we know your wheels aren't going to fall off. Let's not worry
Yeah.
about it. You
Look,
finished.
it blows up, it blows up.
It just sounds like a worn out diff.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's a worn out diff.
With fresh fluid.
With fresh fluid. With MOS2, which, as we all know, especially if you own a Volkswagen, is magic. So, MOS2 is what you use on a Volkswagen not to blow up your 2-liter engine. It still blows up. Okay. Well, that's one problem not sorted in any meaningful way. All right, so what we ended up having to do, we replaced the diff fluid. It's probably going to make it worse, briefly, and then might make it better. We'll see. And if it doesn't, the diff is going bye-bye into the ocean with all the other used car batteries. However, we noticed that this heat shield was sagging. And so what I did, instead of buying a brand new heat shield, I just replaced the washer here, and we're going to just zap it into place, and it should be all set. One. Done. So here is the evaporative fuel line. It goes in here somewhere, and then it goes above and into, like over the fuel tank. So our task is to first remove it from here, but then figure out how to feed it either through here and above the fuel tank, or from the fuel tank through here. Let's tune into Skelly's tool reviews for a second. This is a Klein light. It's incredible. It's got a magnetic mount, and you can just put it on just about anything, and it's bright as hell. And it's also got a USB out. Slap. You ever just get shot? I want to be really gentle when removing this hose, because if I don't, I'll break this nipple. Am I allowed to say that word? And then I have to replace this whole filler neck. And I don't want to do that. It's expensive.
Very.
So we're just going to be gently motivating this thing to come off. There we go. Look, it's not destroyed. What a phenomenal thing. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take out this seat, and then we're going to try to get to the fuel line and see if we can finagle it out of there, and then put the new one in. The seat comes off very easily. You got to want it. There's all this rock salt here, which is actually included in the price of the car. Well, anyway, so we need to remove this cover, and someone's been in here, because there's actually more of this material that's supposed to cover it, and the fact that it's gone indicates that someone's been in here. Now tomorrow I will go to a car wash, and I will potentially even wash this car, which is out of character for me. But once I wash the car, I will finally vac it out and get rid of all this nonsense here. There's all these acorns in here, which is also very good.
And now we just have to find the line. Here it is. How are you meant to get? Is there any way for me to be able to do that while the fuel tank is in the car?
I'm not dropping the fuel tank. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. You can't. Wouldn't it be hilarious if the next cut, like if there was just a cut to me dropping the fuel tank? Inside the car, on top of the fuel tank, is a nipple where the other side of this hose goes. And just like on this side here, it's attached by a crimp style clamp. The problem is I can cut the crimp style clamp out, but I cannot put a new one on unless I drop the fuel tank. And dropping the fuel tank is a huge ordeal. And what's more, the BMW parts diagram shows a worm gear clamp attached on the fuel tank side, near the fuel pump. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the crimp clamp out, put the hose in, and then we're going to use a worm gear clamp to hold it in place. And that's precisely what I did. You'll have to take my word for it though, because impossibly I lost all of the footage except this very short 14-second long clip right after I got the new hose on. So with all that work done, I guess the only question now remains is, have I done it? Have I made this car a more pleasant place to be? And the answer is, kind of. Replacing the lower control arms and the tension struts made it a great deal less floaty and bouncing around. And replacing the horrible aftermarket head unit with a pixelated, not quite there unit from BMW, I'll call that one a mixed success. Now the last thing that you saw me do, which was replace the fluid in the differential and the fuel line evaporator hose, those are huge quality of life. I've put about 200 miles on it since I replaced the fluids, and it stopped making the noise, which doesn't mean anything. But the biggest thing is that there's no more leakage, there's no more smell. I can fill up the fuel tank as much as I'd like, and it's working beautifully. However, this is not the car I want to be driving right now. The car that I want to be driving is parked outside. In fact, today it is going to snow, so what I have had to do is take a badly misfiring BMW X5 out of here so that I can put it on the street to protect this car from road salt. I'll be honest, I still can't figure out exactly what's going on with the X5. I know there's at least one vacuum leak, but I still want to do a leak down test to make sure that I don't have a bent valve or a blown head gasket or something. And that's happening this upcoming week, so let's hope that the results are positive rather than horrifyingly negative. In the meantime, make sure you follow Skelly's Garage on Instagram. That's where all the most frequent updates are posted. And subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think. I mean, if you think I'm wasting my time with the X5 or with the E39, I'd love to hear why. At any rate, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every comment that I hear from you, and I'll see you on the next one.